The following program is sponsored by The Greek, Ely's Radio Shack dealer at 570 Altman in downtown Ely, and brought to you as a public service by Georgetown Media in Ely, Nevada. Special White Pine County Commission meeting, February 15th, 2023.
Love one. I might need to get you to read it for me.
I'll take your word for it. You can interpret for us.
Sure, yeah. I'm giving a brief summary. It's not really anything new. You'll probably get this stuff for the record.
The old granny
Oh, that's
type.
perfect.
Oh, there we
That's
go.
however the old
So
granny
happy
type.
with that.
Alright, call this meeting to order, the White Pine County Commission, emergency meeting, Wednesday, February 15th, 2023, 9 a.m. Please stand, join me in the pledge. Will you follow me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now our moment of silence. All right, we're going to do a short moment of silence because we have a short meeting. And then we'll move on to public comment. Public comment on Zoom? No? Public comment in the room? Oh,
That's Hank.
Oh, okay.
There is somebody?
Commissioner
No.
Vogler is on the phone.
Okay.
Okay, so we just were acknowledging that.
All right, thank you. Mr. Chairman, at a previous meeting, I voiced concern in regards to the Slay Hill across from the senior center. Young kids are coming down that hill. There is no safety stop fence. They'll drop at the end of the hill, approximately 5 feet on the sidewalk and street. A simple fence is needed. You had an injury a few years ago where a young lady got banged up in some construction debris. Major medical issues. You don't need that here. It isn't that the county doesn't know it. You got a building inspector, you got a safety person, and this is just pure ignorance. Mr. Chairman, I've yet to see proper permits for the Centennial building across the street, private club, and yet they continue to do whatever they do without proper permitting. Mr. Chairman, at the City Council meeting held on October 27, 2022, the council approved the settlement agreement between the City of Ely and Ely Disposal Incorporated for the 7th Judicial Court case number CV 1808095. The district court ordered the City of Ely to refund Ely Disposal Service $379,857.88 plus any additional gate fees paid by Ely Disposal for hauling regular and residential waste from March 31st, 2022 to present. That's been a big issue for a long time. I've talked to the former DA for years, nothing's happened. For the taxpayer to have to refund that kind of money is ridiculous. People need to start doing their job or you need to get rid of them. A simple GED is not going to get it. Mr. Chairman, I want to remind you that I've asked for or I'm requesting the water study be made of any potential negative impacts for those that have existing wells out in Steptoe Valley. At the last utility board meeting on January 12, 2023, Mr. Partey, environmental manager for Robinson Mining, reported that in the dewatering they were sending 2,629 gallons per minute down Gleason Creek. I'm concerned that if you've got $450,000 to drill a well for the golf course, you've got enough to pay your bill. That in turn keeps the city water system going. I have a major concern there. Mr. Chairman, get to see anything on your agenda to address the victims fund? Again, I'm a victim here. I keep getting broken into. All I'm asking is those perpetrators need to pay for the minimum damage. That's not happening. You give out hundreds of thousands of dollars, and yet I can't get a dime. Mr. Chairman, I'm requesting to be put on the agenda for a housing grant. I've spent years attempting to get permits to use my property as others do to no avail. Only citations have been given. No others are given those same citations. The commission is granting money for housing under the American Rescue Plan to others, and I want equal consideration. I want to remind you, you just gave $175,000 to the community choir. That's a private club. If it was a government-owned building, a public building, it'd be a different story. That's all I have for now, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Chachas.
I need some answers, sir.
Further public comment? Is that you?
No.
No, okay, I just thought you said it. All right, no, seeing we have no further public comment, move on to our single agenda item, discussion for possible action, approval to submit a waiver to prevent White Pine County's removal from the supplemental city-county relief tax guaranteed status to the Department of Taxation, Finance Director Kathy Workman. James?
All right, so I'm filling in for Kathy. Kathy and Mike have budget hearings this morning, and I told them I was going here. Basically, this is a waiver that we have requested the last several years. In short, what this guaranteed state sales tax payout is this actually, the AG's opinion has a lot of good backup on the creation of it, and that's why I provided it to everybody. They instituted the sales tax originally, the state of Nevada did, and then the concern was, how do you disperse it? And what they were originally going to do is disperse it, basically the sales tax that you collected in your county, you got for your county. The concern is that Clark and Washoe would grow and have disproportionately large portions of that sales tax because of the population centers there, and the rurals would be left out. So what they created at that time was an ability to supplement the rural sales tax with a contribution from the contributing counties. So 1/4 of the sales tax is subject to this city-county relief tax fund, and that's 1.75% of the total sales tax. Contributing counties, well, every county puts in 1.75% of their collected sales tax, and then that gets divided up into 1/12. Each contributing or receiving county, the county that receives the guarantee, gets 1/12 of that sales tax plus a factor, it's multiplied by a factor based on growth. There's two different ways that you can do it. At any rate, what the effect is you'll see, and what that's supposed to do is kind of mitigate against a county receiving essentially no sales tax. The effect has been since 2000, we've had about 7 years where we've actually received more than we've collected, and we've had about a dozen or so years where we've actually received less than what we've collected. What under this plan, so what we've collected is not the exact number of what we're losing, but it is pretty close. Last year, we've received 3.1 million, for example, and collected 6.1 million. That's a difference of 3 million. We wouldn't, if we were not in the guarantee, it's not, so Kathy and I have been kind of like, really trying to drill into this. We don't believe we would have gotten that extra 3 million total. It would have been our total collections, then plus that 1.75% that we contribute to the other counties, and then they divide that out and redistribute it. So it would have been something less than 3 million, but it would have been it's a couple million that we would have gotten. The question really is, do we want to, continue with this guarantee going forward, knowing, what we've lost, or do we want that safety net? It's the way I think of it is kind of marginal utility. Is the utility of having that guarantee. You'll see in like 2000 through 2004, we've gotten over $1 million. Is that extra $1 million to our budget that we wouldn't have otherwise gotten have more marginal utility than the money that we're losing? And that's the question for you guys. If we do ask for a waiver, there's certainly a chance that we will be denied anyway and will be placed off of this guaranteed status. I think we're only one of 3 counties left on guaranteed status. The pros for this is if we have an economic downturn, if the mines close, a lot of our sales tax come from mines purchasing. The mines close, we don't have that sales tax, and we're not on guaranteed status, then we're stuck with whatever we've collected, minus the original dispersal to, from the contributing counties to the receiving counties. The AG's opinion, the really important part, other than just the general background, which I found interesting, the important part is that once you're denied, once you're out of this guaranteed status, you cannot come back in. And so this is answering a question from an unnamed county. County asked, we were denied, we wanna, so we just were given taxes collected per statute under that subsection. And now we're here on the next fiscal year, we want to apply for a waiver again to get back in. They basically said, once you're out, you can't come back in. So that's kind of what we're looking at. You know, if we could see the future, obviously this decision would be a lot better, because then we can make some kind of calculation about what we're going to lose or gain from being in or not. But really, we're trying to predict the future of our economy. I spoke with Kathy this morning. Her recommendation is for this year, just this, and obviously we can only ask for it for 1 year at a time, but she is in favor of asking for the waiver for this year. But what she wants to do is really dig in this upcoming year and see what's going on with the hemp farm, what's going on with R Plus Energy, and if that gives us the sustained growth where we think we will be not needing this guarantee, so we can benefit from the extra taxes collected in the future, then she may have a different recommendation next year. But given how new she is, and this is something that she and I had just been digging into since we got the letter a couple weeks ago, and also giving the consideration that once you're out, you're out. Yeah, I would join her recommendation in asking that we go ahead and ask for the waiver this year. Kathy and I will show up to the meeting at the state on March 6th, I believe it is. We'll make our pitch. If they grant us the waiver, then we'll really do our homework this upcoming year to see what the long-term prognosis looks. See if we can project for the county a little bit, and then come back to you with a little bit more solid recommendation. At the last page of the original packet is the proposed letter that I would send, subject to any changes made in the motion, to the commission and, or the Department of Taxation, that is. And if anybody has any further questions, I mean, this is kind of a complex topic for me, so if you have any questions, I'll certainly attempt to answer them.
Do we have any questions, James?
If we go along with Kathy's recommendation, because we've done this now, I know I've done it, Burton's done it, gone to state taxation, it was a benefit to White Pine County to be able to go back in. But if we're projecting what's going to happen with the hemp farm, and we're allowed to do that by wavering, by going ahead and submitting this waiver for this year, because I think we'll have a lot more clear vision on what the what's going to happen at the hemp farm, the R Plus Energy, we have the outlet now. We've already, here's something to think about. We've already started a process with LS Power and with the KV generating line, which is going to generate some property tax in there. But if we get these, and again I keep saying if we get these two, the hemp farm as well as the R Plus Energy to go along with the LS Power and the KV generating line, then we're good. We're good forever, because we got a solid, mining is so iffy, and mining can go down anytime. We've been doing fine in the mining, but mining is so up and down as far as the revenues go, and what we net proceeds and the other revenues that we receive each year from the mines. But if again, we get a clear direction of R Plus Energy and the hemp farm, and I'll use those two, because they're gonna be huge as far as the revenues for White Pine County. Then we don't need this, and we can go ahead and go back. But if we stay, do this waiver that Kathy has recommended, and I tend to agree with her, until we know more, and this 1 year is gonna make a big difference, which would allow James and Kathy to go state, and let's say they give it to us. And hereafter, we find out the direction of Hemp Farm and R Plus Energy along with our already directive of the LS Power and KV Gen. That generates a lot of property tax revenue for White Pine County. And the projections are $15 million per year per business, probably in 2030 and beyond. So those are the projections if we have each entity. The property tax revenue from the R Plus would be 15 million additional to our property tax, and then the hemp farm, of course, which is already in there.
But doesn't that also depend on what it happens if there's any type of abatement?
Well, those
So
are,
so that's not guaranteed.
right, but what would be guaranteed is we would be in a direction to have that revenue coming in, because R Plus Energy would be signed on, and same with the hemp farm. So for this year, I agree with this. We could get this waiver, that'd be great, but for the years going forward, I think that once we have a more solid idea of them coming on, let's say they signed the contracts there, then we can go forward with
Yeah,
this.
I think that's a good point. That's actually, kind of relates to the statute itself, is if we have non-recurring taxable sales, such as like, somebody comes in and makes a lump sum kind of purchase. And remember, this isn't property tax, this is sales tax. But non-recurring taxable sales, and we ask for a waiver, then the Department of Taxation shall grant us the waiver. And if it's from normal or sustained growth in taxable sales, then they shall deny our waiver. So if we do have R Plus Energy and the hemp farm as an impetus to our sustained growth in taxable sales, then not only should we get off, but we will probably likely force to get off. If this is approved today, our argument will be that a lot of these sales tax comes from the mining industry, which is very volatile. So it would put us in that first category. It would be our argument. They're free to accept that argument or reject it. If I honestly could see them saying, look, you've had more sales collected than distributed for the last 10 years in a row. That to me is sustainable growth. They could say that and deny our waiver if we ask for it. But right now, I would make that argument, given the infancy of these projects, and not really infancy. I guess they're toddlers right now. They're starting to develop, but I think in this next year we should be able to find out exactly where we're going. Are they seriously coming in? What's happening, and we'll have a better kind of view of the situation going forward.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and I think, and infancy, I think is right. I mean, we do have the hemp farm, R Plus, they're still just talking about having a baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's.
Well, and so far as the hemp part, they're in limbo, because they've been waiting, so they
Correct.
haven't had a whole lot going on.
Yeah, they're waiting
Out there. The
for
cannabis,
licensing and
License,
legislation.
right.
This thing has, we've beaten the hell out of this over many years, but the thing is it takes the high and low waves out and makes it just a much easier ride. I agree with you, once those do come on board and we do see that much extra sustainable tax level come, well, then we're one of the big counties, not one of the little counties, and shouldn't have the waiver. But right now, we're looking at 3 big ifs. We've got 2 ifs coming, and 1 if that we know is can only decline. I mean, but mining is eventually, it may not be now, it may not be 100 years, it could be 100 years from now, it could be 200 years from now, or it could be tomorrow. That mining could cease. And so there's just too many variables right now to try and jump off this.
I think so too.
There's so many if, and I don't, I think we should go with his advice and not go with. just don't know.
Hank, did you have anything you wanted to throw in here?
Put on your seatbelt, boys and girls. Yeah. Gotta watch RFD-TV. There's a program on there every day about raising both hemp and smoking marijuana back in the south where the hemp grows 15 feet high. And the volume and the growing season is year round. I worry that we're putting a lot of emphasis on something that I drive by there rather regularly, going back and forth to San Francisco, my cattle and sheep. And they're not very prosperous, but maybe it will be down the road, and I hope it is. I have nothing against capitalism. But putting all this emphasis on there, when we turn around, we should tell the tax commission once again, because I've told them several times. Our tax base is being eroded by, well, just recently, the Nevada Department of Wildlife bought a whole bunch of ground in the Sprouse outfit. Sprouse is no longer running cattle or sheep, other people will, but will they pick up the slack? Then we have Southern Nevada Water Authority that doesn't pay sales tax. I negotiated with them a very long time ago about paying in lieu of taxes, but they're not obligated to that. They could send you a letter tomorrow and say, we're just going to do this anymore. They have exempt license plates. They're competing against private enterprise, and agriculture creates $7. Ordinary businesses create about 5. Mining creates about 7. High inputs. But all of that has been taken away from us. And if we're going to continue to give our properties in this state.
We have a motion to approve, do we have a second?
Second.
All right, so our motion's from Commissioner Carson, we have a second, Commissioner Van Camp. Further discussion? Call for the question, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried, so ordered. All right, now we'll come down to
This has been a Georgetown production. George Chachis reporting.